Hey everybody, you're watching CAD Roll Hunter. I bought this collection here, a whole tote of stuff and a shoebox here full of coins almost a year ago. I paid $200 for this, and it is about darn time we got in here to see if I got a deal or not. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is James and you're watching my channel CAD Roll Hunter. If you can believe it, I bought this collection back in May of last year, May of 2024, and it's been sitting in my closet that entire time. I haven't gone through it. In fact, it's been so long, I forgot about it and what was in here. What I do remember is that I paid $200 for it. There's a whole lot of coins in here. You can see there's all sorts of sets with quarters, and obviously there's some loonies, but there is a little bit of silver. I remember we priced this at basically what we thought the face value of the Canadian coins were in here. And so I think what we'll do is we're going to take everything out. We're going to see if there is $200 in face value. That would make it an incredible deal because there are some things in here that are definitely worth some money. There is a S minted Eisenhower dollar. That's silver. There are some older coins in here. There's even a plated silver knife. Why? I don't know. There's a bunch of goodies. There's some rolls of coins. So let's get in here. I'm going to just get everything out of the tote and the boxes. We'll kind of get it lined up and get a better sense of what's actually in here. And then we're going to take stock and see if, in fact, there's $200 worth of stuff in here. Let's get into it. All right, well, first off, we got a whole bunch of these little holders here that carry commemorative quarters. We've got them from the Millennium series, 1999, 2000, and then we've also got them here in, these are the provincial ones from 1992. These are not mint sets. These were not issued by the Royal Canadian Mint. These are third parties, so in some cases, people might have been able to buy these special holders and fill it with their own coins. Some retailers might have been putting these together from rolls from the bank and selling them as little sets, but they didn't come like this from the mint. And I'm looking at them, and some of these are just in circulated condition. And I knew that, I think, when we looked at it originally. Somebody's put these together as little sets, and there's tons of them. Each one of these would be $3 in face value just in quarters. There's 12 quarters in each of these sets, but some of these have toonies and loonies, the commemoratives from that year as well. So there's some extra in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at each of these. I'm going to count them all up to see what the face value is just from these commemorative sets here. And then we got a lot of other things to go through. So we'll find out what the face value is. Ultimately, I'm only going to keep the coins that are in here that are in a high mint state. And you can see that there's debris in there. Well, that might be on the surface, but some of these are scratched up, so they might not be worth keeping. But we'll take stock and see exactly how much we've got in face value. And if I see anything that looks particularly good, I will let you know. The other thing I'll want to do is look for some varieties. In these 1999 and 2000s, there are some that are lower mintage. There are some rotated dies. There are a couple, I think, with a P composition mark that would be very, very rare. I'll see what we've got if we found anything really cool. But at first, we're going to take stock of the face value of what we got. So we ended up with 9 of these Millennium 1999 quarter sets. So that's $27 right there. But one of them had an extra quarter, and 2 of them had the commemorative toonie that came in that year. These are not the rimless mules. And I haven't seen any of the varieties in here yet, but I haven't looked closely, so I'll do that later and I'll let you know what we find. In the 2000s, we had 12 of these sets. No extra loonies or toonies or anything like that, but that's another $36 towards our $200 purchase. So we've already made up a fair amount just right there. Okay, we got 3 of the 1992 sets. As you can see here, that's the 125th anniversary of Confederation. So there's another $9 right there. But we had a couple of extra loonies and a couple of extra quarters, so another $2.50 here. And these extra quarters are also the New Brunswick. This one's pretty nice, and that's the lower mintage one in this set. That's the hardest one to get. Almost uncirculated, and this one here is not quite as nice, but I typically hold on to most of those. You can see there's some circulation wear. So these are definitely not mint sets. Somebody has collected these and put them in the sleeves. In fact, some of these sleeves have prices on the back. And I think the prices, there's one that says $1.50, $1.50. I think that was probably just for the empty case itself, because of course $1.50 would be lower than the value of the coins that are in there. But somebody paid money for these and then was filling them up around about that time. Next up, here are a few more commemorative sets. This is just a different presentation. Another retailer put a little bit more effort into doing some artwork, so people might have been able to buy this and then collect their own coins. This one says Northwest Mounted Police, Canada. And pretty interesting sort of old Canadian art here. We got the railroad. We've got some probably fur traders. Even it looks like this looks like it might be like very early settlers to North America. This one here is interesting. This one here also is $3 in face value. But have a look at this one right behind it. This one right behind it is exactly the same, except that it also has a spot for the toonie. So this one has a $5 face value, and this third one is the same. So we've got another $13 in face value here from these ones alone. And so here we've got some more. These ones are for the Confederation Canada 125. This also has the loonie, and it has all of the provinces and territories. So we've got a face value of $4. Two of this one, they're exactly the same. And then there's one here that's just a little bit of a different style. Probably another producer that put this together to sell to consumers. So we've got another $12 in face value from those three right there. There's one more Millennium set from 2000. This one's a little bit different from all of these aftermarket or third party, because this one is a Royal Canadian Mint product. So you can see the logo right there. I'll pull this one out so we can take a look, because this one's pretty neat, and it's got something we haven't seen in the other ones. It's all in the cardboard here, and then it's in a sleeve as well. I'll pull it out of the sleeve so we can actually see, and I'm obscuring the camera there. These coins look really, really nice. They've been in this holder and protected. These are fantastic. I'll probably leave them as they are, but there's something here we haven't seen on any of the other ones, and that's right at the top here. Check that out. It says Millennium. It is not a coin, actually. It is a token. And basically, it's a bunch of maple leaves, more or less in the shape of the country of Canada. That is really, really neat. And you can see it is in beautiful condition. It's probably the same size, weight, and specifications as a quarter, but it doesn't have a face value. It's not actually a circulating quarter. If you are a coin roll hunter, tell me if you have found this in your hunts. It's probably not inconceivable that somebody has taken this out of a set and spent it as a quarter. There's so many different designs you can see. Probably anyone at a counter at a store wouldn't have any idea, but I don't have this one. I've never had this one before, and it is really, really neat. So I've got a bit of a rough tally so far, and I think we're actually just over $100. So, you know, we're only halfway back, and what I had said at the outset was that I had thought that we were close to face value on this, and I don't think we're going to get there. So we're really going to have to rely on some numismatic value for the rest of these things to bring us to the $200. So of course, face value being what the denomination is and what it says on the coin, and numismatic value is what is it worth to collectors. Almost everything in this pile isn't going to have any numismatic value. Perhaps this one set might, because these are truly mint state uncirculated coins. A lot of what's in here below, though, are somewhat circulated. They may be worth face value. Some might have a slight numismatic premium if they are a mint state coin with no fingerprints and other marks. I'm going to have to look really carefully to see if any of them really qualify as that. Otherwise, they're just going back to the bank. So we got a little bit of ground to make up here, and well, we may as well dig in. I guess we'll start right here, because you can see that there are 8 quarters, so we're at least going to add $2 to that. But there is some numismatic value here, because when I look at these, we got some really, really cool things. There's a 1999 1993 proof quarter. And there you can see that the cameo on the caribou. Well, there's a nice uncirculated 2001, 2008 poppy. 1990 proof. It might not have a whole lot of value, but definitely more than face value. There is a beautiful 2010 double poppy. 1969, this one says choice proof like with a cameo finish. And then, of course, the low mint 1991 in a mint state. This is only minted at $459,000. It's probably worth at least $10 or $15 in a mint state. And then there is an uncirculated Olympic quarter, probably not worth much more than the face value. But there's at least $2 there in face value, but we certainly made up some ground in terms of numismatic value because there are definitely some keepers in this little lot. So this will help us. This is going to get us $25 towards our goal here of breaking even at least on this. These are Olympic commemorative sets from the Vancouver 2010 Olympics. These were put together by the Royal Bank. So these might have been given to their customers to encourage them to collect the coins. And if I open it up, what we'll see is this includes two different sets of Olympic commemoratives. It's got all of the 2007, 8, and 9 issued Olympic sports coins. It also includes the special medal sets, so the Canadian women's and men's hockey and Cindy Clausen. These coins, this particular set, look gorgeous, but it also has a couple of Olympic commemoratives. There's the Vancouver 2010 Olympic commemorative, and this is a Lucky Loonie. So there's $5 in face value here, but these aren't all exactly the same. I noticed one of these sets has, and I think it might be this guy here, has some of the colorized coins. There we go. So we've got the colorized men's and women's hockey, but not the colorized Cindy Clausen. So it was really up to the individual collector to fill these albums and put all the coins in here, but they all have the two loonies and they all have all of the different coins. This one just has a bit of a variation with the colorized version. So we're getting a little bit closer. I pulled up that men's hockey, the colorized version, because there is a variety here. In a mint state, it would be worth about $15, which would be a great one. And it's the raised 2. And you can see where the date is on the hockey player's leg. This 2 is actually set into or infused into the leg. There is a less common variety where the 2 is just raised on the leg and it doesn't have this recessed area around it. That's one you want to find, and it would have some numismatic value. We didn't get it in this particularly very small sample though. There's a little bag of loose coins and a little envelope. The envelope contains a full set of the 2000, so that's another $3 of 2000 dated quarters. There's 11 cents in loose pennies, but they're all the 1992 commemorative. So if you're seeing a bit of a trend here, everything so far has been commemoratives from 1992, 1999, or 2000 without exception. There are a few other things, of course, that I've got aside we haven't looked at yet, but so far everything from those years. And there's also 95 cents in nickels from, you guessed it, 1992. That's the double date there with the dates of Confederation, 1867 to 1992. So we've got more. Now here we go. We've got a roll of 1992 dimes. That's the double date. $5. There's really nothing significant for us to find in there, and it looks like they're circulated. This one's a little bit different. This is 2001 dime. This is the year of the volunteer. But again, I can see that that's circulated. That's just going to be another 5 cents. I'll look at them before I send them back to the bank in case there's anything different in there. And then we've got a couple of rolls of nickels, and I'm going to guess that these are those 1992. Let's see, we'll find out in a moment together here. Oh, these are not nickels. These are pennies, so we're doing worse off than I thought. These are, oh, some really beautiful 1967. If they're all 67s, we can look for the doubled die. There is a doubled die obverse that has doubling. I'll put one under the scope here. On the motto, particularly we'd see that on Regina. We would see some doubling along these letters here. It spreads out as you move across the coin here. And this one has a nasty fingerprint on it. But I'll take a look at all these and see if any of them have that doubling. That would be really cool. There's also some die deterioration doubling we can find on the date on a lot of them. This one looks pretty crisp, but you can see what happens when you get greasy fingerprints on a coin. You might not notice it right away, but that makes for one ugly coin for sure. Well, this is the second coin, also fingerprinted, but I want to show you something because I think we might actually have had that double die on that last one. It was just so hard to see. But you can see these letters here pretty clearly. The lettering is different on this coin than any other obverse design. It's a very thin lettering design. But when I bring that first one back under, there is some doubling. What you can see here is a split in the serif here. There is some doubling you can see there. There's some extra thickness on the R. And we do have the doubled die obverse. This is recognized by PCGS. It's too bad it looks so terrible. What I'm going to do though is look through and see if any of these other ones exhibit this type of doubling, and hopefully on a nicer coin than this one. So I'm halfway through this roll and I haven't found any more that have that doubling, and I haven't found the doubling on the date, that die deterioration doubling. But all of the coins have looked like this, which is such a shame. They have still some mint luster. These would have been put away basically uncirculated, but the fingerprints on them, and they look even worse under the scope, have really marred the surface of the coin and made them very unattractive. It's really, really unfortunate. Here's another one in just terrible shape from those fingerprints, and it's got a big scratch on it too. But this one has doubling on the date all across the bottom, and it's just from a deteriorated die. If I rotate it, you can kind of see like at the base of the 6, and it's but otherwise it is a coin that is in terrible condition because of those fingerprints. Awful. Here is another one with that doubling all across the bottom of the date. It's not damaged, it's not worn, it's not a hub doubling or anything like that. It is just from a deteriorated die. Very common. You might see it on a lot of Canadian coins on the dates specifically. Same roll. No doubling on the date, but when I flip it over and we look at the obverse legend, we can see some extra thickness, some doubling. Particularly, there is a split serif and a extra thickness on this G. You can see it in the R and the E. We've got another one of those double dies and another one with fingerprints all over it. Well, incredibly, we ended up with 3 with that doubled die and 3 that have really noticeable doubling on the date. It is just such a shame that every single one of these coins is marred by fingerprints, and you can see that they still otherwise have some luster, but these are just bound for the copper cup here. They're just going to go in my collection as just copper. Unfortunately, I think when somebody put these in the roll, they would have been brilliant, uncirculated, beautiful scents, and their hands were so greasy and got the fingerprints all over them. Every single one of them shows really significant signs of that environmental damage from the grease. Really, really unfortunate. And this second roll looks to be, again, 50 cents in these exact same thing. I'll scope every single one of them and see if we got another doubled die. They're hard to come by, so that's a fantastic find if we've got one. If we found one in better condition, even better. But so in this lot, there were a few of these Millennium keepsake sets. These are from Canada Post, and they've got a token or a medallion in here. Canada 2000. This one's just beautiful. And it's not actually a coin. It was probably minted by the Royal Canadian Mint for Canada Post for this, but it's the size and shape of a quarter. And I know collectors and coin roll hunters have found these. I know several people who have found them. I've never found one in the wild, but you can imagine how that would happen. Somebody who got this set and then spent this like a quarter. This also has some limited edition stamps in here. The cover price on here was $8.99. I don't even think it's worth that today. You could probably buy these for a few dollars. They're interesting, but they don't have any face value whatsoever, so we can't even count anything. So here are a couple of Royal Canadian Mint products here. This is a silver dollar, 1989. And so this is actual silver. This is 50% silver. So we're going to add $1 to our tally here, but it's probably worth about $10 in silver, which is actually really cool. And then we've got this 1989 mint set. This is an uncirculated set. Beautiful. We've got the loonie, the 50-cent piece, then of course the quarter, the dime, the nickel, and the penny, all in beautiful uncirculated condition. So that's $1.96 right there in face value. Now here's something, I didn't know what this was. It says the Stratford Festival of Canada, and this is in my neck of the woods, so this is interesting, but it does say Royal Canadian Mint. The logo is there. There's very little information here about this, except that it does say, so 2002, it's in very fine print, 2002 Royal Canadian Mint. And in the price down here, 50 cents Stratford, it sold for $21.95. I had to look it up on Numista to learn anything about it, and I found it here, and it's a 50-cent piece in sterling silver. So it's, again, this is worth over $10 in silver. We're only going to count 50 cents towards our face value. And I got to think, should I open it or should I keep it sealed up in here? It's all in plastic. That is the coin on Numista. Beautiful coin, but it's a sterling silver 50-cent piece you very rarely find out in the wild, for certain. Okay, I'm getting a bit nervous. We're getting down to the wire, and I don't think we're going to get there. I'm not sure, at least not to face value. And you know what? There's going to be over $200 in value here for sure, because I know we've got some silver right here for sure. But I was trying to see, that's what we kind of figured. It was about $200 in face. What I'll do is I'm going to organize all this stuff. I do see some dollar coins in here, and there's another roll of something here. So it'll get us closer anyway, but I think this is where we're going to find some of the more collectible stuff that's going to bring us over the top as a bottom line. But okay, I'm going to get it out of the box here. We'll see what we've got, and is it going to take us over the $200 threshold? We'll find out soon. So I've emptied out the cigar box here. We got a bunch of assorted things. We'll come to that in a bit. But I'm feeling a little bit better. We ended up getting 11 Canadian 50-cent pieces. This one here is 1983. These are all circulated, and they're all nickel. So these are not out of silver. They would have had to be 1967 and earlier to be silver 50-cent pieces. That's not what we got. But 11 of those, that adds to our tally. And, 10. So there's $5. We got 11 $1 coins. Also, these are nickel, and these are also, almost uncirculated. They've been probably in a collection. These never really circulated that much anyway, but none of them look to be in excellent shape. So that is another $11. We got that Eisenhower dollar. We'll add $1 there, but we know that's 40% silver. So that's really cool. We've got more value there. 3 clad 50-cent pieces or $50 from the States, as well as a really gnarly looking American quarter, not silver. It's a 1970, but pretty dark. And then this is where things are getting good again. So here's another 50 cents. I think these are also, I looked in the one end here, 1967. So I'll look for any of those varieties, the double die. This is really tightly packed. Nobody's opened this up to see beyond me looking at the end. So I'm assuming it's all the same. This here is about a half roll, we'll say, of 1967 nickels. So probably about $1 worth of nickels. That would be the rabbit nickels. But check this out. This says 10 cents, 1967. Looks to be about a half roll. If that's the case, it's not only $2.50 in face value, it's also going to be silver. These are going to be either 50 or 80% silver, we can't know, but silver dimes nonetheless. So I'm going to unroll this, and we're going to find out if this is exactly what it says. In fact, we'll do it right now, because if we got half a roll of silver dimes in there, I am going to be very, very happy. And that looks like silver. That looks awesome. Let's see if it is what it says it is. Definitely silver, and we've got mackerels. So 1967 silver dimes. There's no real easy way to tell if they're 50 or 80% silver. And these trade in Canada as though they're splitting the difference at 65%. There's just not worth anyone's time or effort to try to figure it out. But I'm going to count them and see how many we got. So we got 30. So we'll add $3 to our tally, but 30 silver dimes, which is awesome. I'm on the Coin App's melt value calculator. This is really, really handy. I just plugged it in here, a 1967, as though it's a 50% silver dime. It might be, they probably trade for a bit more, but a single dime is worth $1.75 in Canadian dollars. So we got 30 of them. So already the value of that is going to bring us over the top, even though it's just $3 in face value. So I don't think we're going to get any surprises here. I think this is, in fact, going to be bunny nickels, but we may as well see what kind of condition they're in. The pennies, we know, weren't great. And so these could be circulated or uncirculated. But let's take a peek at that. And that might be just mildly circulated, maybe mostly uncirculated. In fact, they look pretty nice. You can see it. Yeah, I can see some circulation wear on these. But they all look to be the 1967 bunny nickel, and that's always cool to find too. And we ended up with 23 of those, and the cool thing about these is that they're 100% nickel, which means they're really worth more than face value anyway. So again, we'll count our 23 nickels at their face value, but I hold on to all of the pre-1982 nickels that are made of 100% nickel, just on the off chance that the value of nickel skyrockets and they trade like silver coins do. You never know. There were also a handful of other things like trade dollars from municipalities, tokens, medallions. We can't count anything for face value. There was one here that I've seen before, which is really cool, but I've never had one in my collection. This is an Apollo 11 moon landing token. Check this out. Aldrin, Armstrong, Collins, really, really cool. I've seen one before, but this is the first time I've had one. In the loose change in the cigar box, there was $2.08, and a few little highlights. There were a few large cents from Canada. There's a 1912 with King George V. Some damage. You can see these are not in great condition. We got some pennies, including a few King George V. 1927 is a harder year to find. And check this out. That's from Newfoundland at 1942, 1 cent. So we'll take that for sure. That's awesome. We got a bunch of nickels. A 1927 King George V was loose, and then a couple that were in flips. And they're in circulated condition. This one's damaged. So I don't know exactly why they were in flips like this, but 28 and 29, really cool. We got some Tomback nickels too from 1943, Victory Tomback nickels, so very cool. And a couple of just circulated regular old dimes. So we've got one last little box here, and we're not going to be able to count much for face value in this, but I think there's a few little surprises in here that's going to be very helpful in getting some value out of this whole lot here. All right, here is everything from the tin. We got 39 cents we can add, but some really, really cool stuff. Check this out. Here is 1 penny from Great Britain, 1892. That is a pretty slick looking Queen Victoria. That's awesome. Here is, if you've ever seen this before, 2.5 cents. Wow. Flipping it over, it is from 1918 from the Netherlands. Wow, 2.5 cents from the Netherlands. This might be the coolest one of all. This is the French Empire 10 centime. We flip it over. It's Napoleon III from 1854. That is some really old, likely copper. Really, really cool. I'm going to have to look that one up and see if there's any significant numismatic value. It's actually got a lot of detail on it. And then we got more silver, more Canadian silver here. And we've got 3 dimes and a nickel. And apparently the dates were so hard for someone to read on it that they put tape on it with the dates. So I'm going to have to get that tape off, and hopefully there's not a bunch of sticky stuff on there. This is Edward VII. This is 10 cents, 1904. And it looks like we're going to have two 1901s with Queen Elizabeth. That's really cool. And then this is what we call a fish scale. This is a 1920 5-cent piece. 1920 was the year that, the last year that these were commonly struck here in silver. Sterling silver, I believe, 1920. This one would have King George V on it. I'll have to get that tape off. But we got more silver to round out everything we got in this cool little collection of stuff. More silver than I think I was thinking, but definitely helpful to get us over the $200 that I paid. I'll show you on screen how close we got to $200 in face value. I don't think we quite made it. But between our 30 1967 silver dimes, that Eisenhower dollar, these older Canadian silver coins, not to mention that Stratford Festival sterling 50-cent piece, I want you to tell me if I should take a look at that, if I should open it up in a future video, because this packaging is unlike some of the mint packaging they have now where you can actually either open it up while it's still sealed and see the coin, or where there's a hole cut on the front so you can see the coin through the flap. Not the case on this one. So I don't even know what this looks like other than the pictures that we saw. And of course, we got one more 50% silver 1989 dollar. So that was a pretty awesome box of coins if you ask me. I'd love to know what you thought. Did I do okay for $200? Should I have paid less? Did I just luck out and get silver? If I was really counting on face value, I might have been disappointed, but I think there's enough cool stuff in here for me to be pretty happy with what I got. I'm going to do one last thing before I call this video done, and that is I'm going to look through and see if there are any varieties in those quarters and in that last roll of pennies, and I'll come right back and let you know if I found anything worth reporting. All right, nothing doing on the 1992s. What you're really looking for is rotated dies on the New Brunswick, the Northwest Territories, and the Saskatchewan, which we did not find on any of these three sets that we have here. So nothing doing on the 1999s. These are all pretty circulated here. What we're looking for is a mule where the obverse design is just the regular obverse design, doesn't have 25 cents on the bottom, so the coin itself doesn't have any denomination. They're very rare. You can find them on the November and the September issues, and we didn't get any of them here, not surprisingly. And no surprises in the 2000s. We didn't find any of the rare varieties. There's a rotated die on Pride and Harmony, and then there are very exceptionally rare P composition mark creativity and community. So there'd be a little P at the base of the Queen's bust denoting that it was made of multiply plated steel rather than nickel. In any case, we didn't find any of those, but I did make some progress on my Canada Large Cent Lighthouse Vista Nature album. I've been putting in large cents that I get in collection purchases, just like this here. You can't find these coin roll hunting, of course, but I made some progress. I slotted in that corroded 1907. I didn't have that in here, as well as the 1919. So filled a couple spots. I'm always happy to do that. That is really awesome. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this collection purchase for $200. I got everything that we saw here today, including some silver and some really cool old stuff. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, a like. I would love that. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, CAD Roll Hunter, please hit that button and subscribe, and you'll be notified when I have new videos coming out. I have new videos coming out all the time. They're often coin roll hunting, collecting, as well as purchases like this, and all sorts of numismatic fun. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. We'll see you again next time. The sponsors of today's video are Lighthouse Canada and the Charlton Press. Lighthouse Canada is the leading supplier of high-quality numismatic supplies in Canada, and the Charlton Press is the leading publisher of coin and paper money catalogs and price guides for Canadian collectors. Go check out their online stores today and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 for 20% off all your purchases.